Co-chairing the NTUC PME task force, we have engaged more than 9,000 PMEs the last 6 months. I can feel the fears and anxieties of our local PMEs, especially over job security. Besides ground sentiments of intense competition from the influx of foreign PMEs, I have a compendium of anecdotes of unfair employment practices by employers who favour hiring foreigners and discriminating against our locals. Just last Thursday, one mature PME who used to be from the financial sector and now with one of our IHLs wrote to me an email to share how he witnessed first-hand discriminatory practices at the workplace, resulting in a fellow mature local PME being displaced. In our recent task force survey of 1,000 mature PMEs aged 40 and above, about 1 in 2 of them said that the tightening of employment pass quota in sectors who have weak hiring practices of Singaporeans will help to protect their jobs. While the government had implemented several changes to the foreign manpower policies over the past years, many PMEs feel that the policy tweaks are insufficient to curb unfair competition, as there are still companies who continue to engage in unacceptable practices. Some PMEs view the FCF job advertisement requirement as mere window dressing, as employers may already have a foreign candidate in mind when they post their job advertisements. In addition, many PMEs opine that there is currently no proper framework for transfer of knowledge for roles which employers claim there are skills shortages. One of the PMEs shared with me on how he had received a job offer from an IT company with unfair terms and conditions, such as having to pay for damages, including incremental costs of finding replacement and other associated costs like advertisement and consultant fees in the event of his resignation. He believed that this is an underhand tactic by the company to eventually inform Ministry of Manpower that he had offered the job to Singaporeans, but none accepted it, so that they are able to hire an EP holder.
Beyond nationality-based discrimination, we will and we must also tackle other types of discrimination as well, including on grounds of sex, on grounds of age, religion, race, and disabilities. And this must happen across all phases of employment. In fact, MOM has been working on this for more than 2 decades, progressively stepping up our efforts. We started with the tripartite guidelines on non-discriminatory job advertisements in 1999, and we formed the Tripartite Alliance for Fair and Progressive Employment Practices in 2006. We launched the Tripartite Guidelines on Fair Employment Practices, the TGFEP, in 2007, which clearly outlines the principles and the practices which employers must adopt at different stages of employment. Now, since 2013, we have penalized employers who do not abide by the TGFEP by suspending their work pass privileges. Ignorance is not an acceptable excuse. The Fair Consideration Framework, or FCF, was also introduced to set clear expectations of employers to consider the workforce in Singapore fairly. More recently, we have also stiffened penalties for all forms of workplace discrimination. The current approach has worked well for us thus far. Employment outcomes for groups such as women and seniors have improved, and they are in fact better than in some advanced economies. If you look at the employment rate of women aged 25 to 64, it has risen steadily from about 66% in 2010 to 73% in 2020, holding steady amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Our adjusted gender pay gap is also lower than in some advanced economies. TAFEP's experience has also been that most employers are cooperative in working with them to close HR gaps. Legislation could give us more enforcement powers against errant employers beyond suspending work pass privileges, and it can confer better protection on employees who whistleblow. It can also send a clearer signal on what we, as a society, will not tolerate as bad behavior on the part of employers. However, laws alone do not guarantee better employment outcomes. We must therefore carefully study our options. We must weigh the costs and benefits, and we must determine what would work best in Singapore's interest and in the Singaporean context.